Hey everybody, hope you're all well. I hope you're enjoying this lovely Tuesday, the 5th of May 2020. I have something a little bit different for you guys today. I have got on a trader that I've known for the last 2 years. I have verified his trades. I have seen how he works. I've watched him grow to become where he is nowadays. Now he's a full-time professional trader. He actually makes an income from trading. I have a lot of respect for him. We both learned our trade together, and from the same mentor. So I'm very proud to introduce him today. Anyway, we are EGIL.TRADE. We are brought to you by the Let's Talk Crypto podcast, and we're proudly sponsored by CryptoFish.com. And what you have on screen here, and I won't take up too much of your time, is an easy way to buy, exchange, store, earn, or send Bitcoin. You can do it with Euro or US dollar. You can do it internationally in the US, in the EU, and in the UK, and soon we'll also have US bank wire. There's also a free learning section, Bitcoin, Crypto, Blockchain 101, and we have a crypto glossary called Cryptopedia, and we have an absolutely free video learning portal, and of course we've got our crypto podcast. But without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Eric. He's really a great guy, down to earth, solid, and he is a professional trader. And here we go. All right, how's it going, man? Welcome to the Let's Talk Crypto podcast with EGIL.TRADE, sponsored by CryptoFish. Today we have Eric, or otherwise known as Pumpkin Party 000 on Discord. Welcome, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Hey, Wes. Thanks for having me on the show.
No
Going
worries.
well, though.
No worries,
How
man.
about you?
So, tell us a little bit about you, man. Where are you based? What's your story? Who are you?
So I am based in New York. My background isn't so much in trading or really finance at all. I come from an IT background. But in IT, I've worked in finance companies. So that kind of got me into, kind of interested in finance. Like I was the guy that was working at hedge funds, setting up the, computer networking equipment, their trading equipment. And just from working in that atmosphere, I kind of gained an interest in trading. So from there, I kind of found Crown. I found basically I started trading when Bitcoin was getting popular in like 2016, 2017, and since then I've basically just hadn't stopped.
Did you discover, or did you take a liking towards trading, or cryptocurrency first, Bitcoin first?
Bitcoin first. At first, I would say, even before then, I was investing. Like I've probably been, investing, let's say, with quotes around it, like trading, probably since I'm 20 or 21. I've always been interested in it, but I would say like I wasn't really doing it properly until, let's say, like 2017, 2018. So, when I think back to the way that I was investing or trading, when I was a little bit younger, I really had no idea what I was doing. So it wasn't until about probably late 2016, like mid 2017, where I would say I really like started to understand the markets and really like start to have some sort of strategies.
Would you say that in the beginning you were just basically accumulating and sort of gambling on exchanges, or
I would say I was 100%. I thought I was accumulating, but I was just gambling. Looking back on it,
okay. And back then, what exchanges were you using?
It was a lot of just like normal stocks. Like I don't know if you're familiar with like E-Trade, but like stuff like that. Like just like investing in stuff that like I thought would be a good investment. And in terms of like Bitcoin, Coinbase, which is really like the main one in the United States.
Yeah, the main retail sort of exchange. I think they've got a professional side now, though. Hey.
Yeah, they have. I think it's called Coinbase Pro.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, you obviously got a sort of an introduction to trading via working in those hedge funds, or what did you call them? Trading firms, where you were helping with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what you were exposed to, did you see the daily life of the traders and things like that, or what sort of?
Exactly. I was working with people who were trading. I was working with analysts. So a lot of those funds, the way they work is they have analysts that do the research. They have, to be honest, most of them do not have technical analysts, which is the kind of trading that I do. They're looking for, they're looking at the earnings reports, they're looking at news, they're looking at products that companies have, the popularity of companies,
Mm-hmm.
and they pass their information on to the traders. And the traders, for the most part, all they do is execute trades based on what the analysts think. So it really just like made me like aware of that industry.
How
And
it works.
to be honest, what kind of drew me into it, I think it's fascinating. I think finance is really interesting. But these people, who are making millions of dollars, like they're not rocket scientists, they're not doctors, they're not geniuses. They just picked,
A different
an
course.
industry where they make a lot of money. Like I never was like blown away by some of these guys' intelligence. They were just average people that just picked the right industry,
Mm-hmm.
and they got good at it.
Yeah,
So it
perfected it
kind of
over
made
time.
me
Yeah.
think, exactly. So it kind of made me think like maybe I can do this. I like it. I should give it a try.
Okay, but you're saying that there was more fundamental analysis done by the analysts and then passed on to the traders. So how did you end up being more technical trading on the technical side
Oh.
than fundamental?
So I found really just from YouTube. I don't remember how I came across. One of the main guys that I follow is Crown on
Eric
YouTube,
Brown.
and yeah, and from his YouTube videos, I bought his courses, and basically mostly from his courses, I started following technical analysis. I started practicing, um, and after I would say probably really like a year of following his strategies is when I realized how much more powerful it could be.
Yeah,
Because from a fundamental approach, you really have to get information quick. So you have to either pay for resources where you're going to be the first to get the information, or you have to be some big fund that has connections. Being an individual, you're getting the information last.
correct.
So technical analysis I found was way more helpful.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I
Trading
remember. I mean,
technically,
I was looking at our discussions. We started chatting. We actually started chatting at the end of July, beginning of August, 2018. So
I
that's
was gonna look that up.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was going nearly. We went around the corner from 2 years ago. Before we had the drop from 6K to around about 3K. After that massive descending triangle of 2018. And during that period, we were in communication quite a lot, I think, and following each other's trades and bumping our heads every now and then, with some bad trades too. But all school fees along the way, basically. And we were both following the same course with Eric Crown. And I think we even subscribed to some of his indicators and things like that at a very similar time. So yeah, I mean, I do remember, and I have seen, you have shown me a lot of your trades, and I'll just say this to anybody watching this: you are a good trader, and I have seen a lot of your trades. Quantum aside, not talking about quantity or anything like that, but you definitely have more winning trades than losing trades. You're profitable. That's all I can
Yeah.
say. So yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing time since we joined Crown. Learning everything from him, and I must say he is one of the best traders that I've seen out there personally. Obviously, there's a lot that are not as public as he is, so we won't know them. But certainly the ones that are out there, he's one of the best that I've ever come across. I think you would agree, hey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even still, if I have some sort of really, strong opinion on the market, I'll ask him or I'll watch, his most recent update because it's refreshing to get a different opinion. Something, a part of trading is you can convince yourself that this stock's going to go up, or this stock's going to go down,
Yeah.
which is an extremely unhealthy thing to do. The best thing to do is I think it's going to go up, but it definitely could go down.
Yeah.
So I'll still like basically like, on a daily basis, if I have any strong opinion, I'll message him on the side or I'll watch his video in the morning, just to see what he thinks. But it's funny you went back and saw our first conversation because I spoke about how at the beginning I thought I was trading, and probably back then, June 2018, July 2018, when I was really, probably maybe 6 months into technical analysis. Even at that point, I thought I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, I agree
And
with that.
probably
That
back, yeah,
resonates. That does resonate with
Yeah.
me too. Every step of the way, I've thought, okay, I know what I'm doing now. I know what I'm doing now. But you're
Yeah.
consistently learning, and what you do learn is that edge changes over time. I think the market changes, and certain trends or certain things don't always work as well as they used to, and then they can also make a comeback, just depending on what the market cycle is and what's happening at that time. But certainly, I do remember feeling very much the same way. In mid what was it, mid 2018. We not where you think you're a smart ass, or like everything, but you certainly, you feel like, aha, I now know what I'm doing, and I can do this now. I just need to do X, Y, Z, and it'll be fine.
Exactly.
It's not the case. I would
No.
say, for myself personally, I think the battle after that is more on the psychological side. So more being disciplined and following your strategies and executing correctly, and risk management. Whereas the strategies themselves, you might know what you're doing, but it's harder to master, risk management and your emotions.
And I agree completely. I think that's what really made me a profitable trader, risk management and discipline. If we're just talking about the timeline and looking at, back on the growth of my trading, I think back probably 2-3 years ago, I felt I had to be in every trade. I had this feeling like, I had to be in a trade every day. If I miss this opportunity, I won't have another one. And what I've realized is that's the furthest thing from the truth. Probably the best thing at times is patience, and just making sure that I'm waiting for the proper trade, because there's really an infinite amount of trades. Like there's never, it's never going to run out. If the goal here is to make a lot of money, even if I took this whole entire year off, if I wait till the next year, there's never going to be a shortage of opportunities to make money in the markets, which is probably one of the most important things I've ever learned.
Yeah. I think it's a
I used
difficult thing to learn, because you almost feel obliged to be in a trade. If you're trading, and especially if you're doing it where it's supposed to be, or in your mind, you think you're going to make it a substantial part of your income, or maybe it is your sole income. You kind of have that mentality of like, you need to work, so you need to catch every wave, like a surfer would out at sea. Whereas it's not the case, as you say.
Exactly. And I think I would get that like fear of missing out, that FOMO feeling, that, hey, if I don't take this trade, this is the opportunity to, make the big one. But I think that feeling is extremely unhealthy. And that's what I've learned, over time. And also just making sure that, like, when you're in a trade, or personally when I'm in a trade, and I'm up a certain amount, it's so say you take profit and the stock keeps going up, or you're in a short and it keeps going down, and then you kick yourself because you're like, oh, I could have doubled my profits.
Yeah.
Any of those feelings is extremely unhealthy as a trader. Anytime you're taking profits, just be happy, and your account's bigger than it was at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
Anytime that I start getting those, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that to make more money, that's when I make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I realized. Just like, I'm just content with my trading. Like, I'm okay with my decisions. And if instead of making $200, I only made $100, it's still $100. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, preserving your capital is key. So making a profit is a bonus.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, like one of the things that I've noticed with myself, and I don't think it's something that goes away. It's something that you manage. Is that, if you have a winning streak, well, I did. If I have a little bit of a winning streak, I tend to actually trim back a little bit, because I feel I might be one step closer to getting it wrong. And likewise, if I have a bit of a trade that goes against me and hits my stop loss, and I take a bit of a hit, I'll decrease my trade size until I feel that I've got everything back on track. And I do
I
remember.
know. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
feel like we have spoken about this with
yeah.
like a book, Trading in the Zone,
Yes.
which is something that I've listened to and read multiple times at this point. And it talks about that exact like euphoria, where you'll feel you're invincible. And I've gotten that feeling a lot of times, where you just hit a few trades in a row, like you've doubled up your account in days, and you think you can't make a wrong trade. And 2 days later, I'm sitting at the same place I was at the beginning of the week because I lost it all back.
Yeah,
And
erased a whole week.
there's no worse feeling. There's
No.
no worse feeling.
Well, there is. You're not back where you started. You're less than where you started. And I've been there. So I know how it feels. I tend to find, though, now that I'm hardly in a trade. I'm more often not in a trade than I'm in a trade. I'm not doing this as my sole source of income, but I find I am more profitable now. But the funny thing is, more often than not, I'm not in a trade. So that is the funny thing. I'm in and out the market pretty quickly. And anyway, the way I trade, I don't really hold a position for very long. I want to limit my exposure to any risk, So whereas back in 2018, that wasn't the case. I would take a position and it would oscillate in my favor, against me, in my favor, and I would be hell bent on holding that position because I knew which direction the market was going to go. But yeah, I suppose we learn along the way. Okay, look, moving on. You mainly trade now legacy markets, traditional markets, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've traded cryptocurrency, mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I found over time that I'm just more in the zone with traditional markets. And I think that's mainly just because the swings on cryptocurrency have been so wild. That's a little bit harder to manage at points.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 24-hour market, so you really need to kind of be ready 24/7, which I think was quite draining. Like I remember there was a point where I was setting alarms and leaving my computer on to wake me up like in the middle of the night, and for like months on end, where I would be woken up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and it at a point it just hit me that it wasn't healthy. That it wasn't probably the right thing to do.
Besides the fact you're
And
not going to be making great decisions at 3 a.m. when you've just been woken up,
Exactly. I found myself just like hitting the snooze because I just didn't even care, which is not a good way to trade.
No.
Um, and I just found that trading traditional, like a 7.5 hour time frame every day, was better for me. I was able to focus for those 7.5 hours, and then work on other stuff in my life. I think it's very important to be mentally healthy when you're trading. And if you're putting 24 hours in a day into it, you can't work on like other aspects of your life. Like I need exercise every day. I need to eat healthy. Like I notice like if I start to get lazy in the other parts of my life, it affects everything. And I think that's probably normal for most people with any job you have. If you don't get the proper sleep, if you don't eat, if you're in a fight with your loved ones, it's going to affect your life.
Yeah, no, look, it's not an easy thing to do. So I think you need to be 100% in the zone, so to speak, and at the top of your game. And I think that applies to anything if you do it at a very high level. So it makes sense. So just let's backtrack a little bit. How did you get started in terms of funding? Did you use your salary? You were working and you took your paycheck and bought,
Exactly.
threw it onto an E-Trade account and started trading away? And is that how you got started?
And that's exactly how it started. I basically funded myself at the beginning from money I had just made from work.
Mm-hmm.
I could say at the beginning for sure, I probably lost, completely wiped on a few Bitcoin, which hurt, a lot. But yeah, at this point, I built every single thing up just probably from starting, with just adding money from like my job in the past, like working in IT. And now basically trading full time for the last year. It's almost like a full year. I started trading full time, I think, last year, mid-May. So I'm basically about 2 weeks away from like a full year trading full time.
I remember when you said that you were going to go full-time trading, and then you started a course, didn't you? You started
Exactly.
programming course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I took a course in data science and analytics, and that was mostly just because I thought that it would be interesting because a lot of the technical trading is statistical trading. EMAs, Fibonacci. It's just like basically statistically looking at what has been a good, trade in the past, like what area has been good to buy in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it fascinating, statistics, because numbers don't lie. When you have data and you have numbers, you have proof that what you're doing works, or you have proof that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on a lot of ideas right now, and it's kind of statistical proofs. What I realized is statistical proofs in finance is extremely difficult. There's a reason that there's PhDs from Harvard, Yale, MIT, working at these hedge funds.
Quant.
Yeah, exactly, quants.
Mm.
And it's because it's an extremely difficult problem to solve.
Mm.
If it was an easy one, everybody would be rich.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it is like extremely fascinating. But just going back, I would say, at first I funded myself from work,
Mm-hmm.
and probably took like, let's say I was investing since 2016, but I started technically trading probably late 2017 and 2018. I probably didn't start getting profitable until about late 2018. So it took a good maybe 8 to 10 months until I really saw the account start to build. And I would say probably in the first 6 months of 2018, I probably wiped out my trading account like 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So
probably most
it
of the
was a
time on crypto, right? With the
yeah,
wild.
yeah, definitely crypto.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, so it was a rough beginning, and I definitely had my doubts at points. But I think the best thing I did probably when I had those rough moments was just take some time, evaluate what I did wrong, and then get back into it after a few weeks.
Sure. Yeah, and you've come a long way now. I mean, you're doing it full time, as you said, hey? I mean, that is your
Mhm.
your current occupation. You're a full time
Yeah,
trader.
exactly,
How many
exactly.
hours would you say you allocate in a day to trading or checking yourself? Well, how does your week start? Like on a Monday, for example. Like what is your plan?
So Sunday, usually it starts on a Sunday night, when futures open. So I start looking at stuff at 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just to kind of get an idea of which way the market's heading. It usually does seem that if there's news coming out that's going to affect the stock market, it usually comes out late Sunday night.
Mm.
You'll start to see, movement in Europe, or even like, you know, Australia, or like Middle Eastern countries, or Israel. Those aren't big markets. China, like the Hang Seng markets, or Shanghai Composite. I'll look at how those are moving just to get an idea overall, like what the world markets are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I'll go through. I have a list of stocks, and mostly in the S&P 500, about 100 of them, and I'll kind of just skip through them very quickly. Like just look at the charts, what I have charted, and see what potentially looks like it's setting up for the direction that the market's moving.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and from there, I'll narrow that list of 100, maybe down to like 15 or 20, and probably just like really focus in those 15 or 20 at the open on Monday. I really need, some price action data to start trading. So like on a Monday morning, like, or, this time on like a Tuesday morning, I'll start flipping through those stocks and say, hey, which ideas are, that I had are working out and which ones aren't. And maybe I'll look at the ones that aren't and saying, okay, is there a reverse trade to be made here, or is there nothing here, and just remove it from the list. So I'll look at a lot of stocks on a week to week basis. And what I found is, we were talking about before, how there's like an infinite opportunity. And when you're looking at 100 stocks, within those 100 stocks, there's going to be opportunity on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. So I
And
mean,
that's usually
what type of trade are we talking about here? Are we talking about options mainly, or
options, and just buying the underlying, both.
okay? All right. So you'll buy the underlying and maybe manage risk with options, or I mean, some of your best trades, have they been on options or underlying?
Oh, well, definitely options. But also at the same time, there's been some of my worst trades.
Sure.
Because options are
Yes.
much more risky.
Yes.
But I'm trading both. I would say probably 50-50. I'm doing options and spot buying of equities. Options, obviously, like if I feel more confident about a trade, it's a good way to gain leverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's also risky. So when I'm trading options, I'm sitting by the computer from 9:30 to 4 p.m. And a lot of the time, especially in this market, if I'm trading options, I won't even hold the trade for more than a day or two, just because of the volatility and the swings. I'm taking profit quick.
Yeah, limiting your exposure, 100%.
Like there's on a Friday, I'm basically clearing my account every Friday because I don't want to hold any large trades over the weekend.
Yeah,
as it's just too risky.
Yeah, you won't enjoy your weekend.
No, absolutely not.
No,
I won't be sleeping.
Yeah, man. Do you want to throw up a chart and tell us what you're thinking right now with the S&P or one of your favorite stocks or something that you're watching, and sort of give us an idea of what you think is going to happen or whatever it is you want to share. If it's the S&P or one of your favorite stocks, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I'll go over a trade. I'm trading Activision right now, so I could show that.
Sure. Suddenly got dark here.
All right. Let me know if you could see my screen.
Sure. Yeah, I can. We're on the Zoom screen.
All right. So here, right now, I am in Activision. I'm in a trade with that I entered last Thursday, I'm going to say. Yeah, so I entered this trade last Thursday. Activision has earnings tonight, so I'll be exiting this trade at some point today. Just because I don't like to trade.
You don't want to hold earnings.
No, it's just too risky. It kind of takes the whole technical analysis out of it because you can't manage a trade, especially options. This one is a spot buy, but you can't really manage it as well after hours because it could be up 2 or 3% in seconds or down 2 or 3% in seconds.
Sure.
But just to go over this trade, what I was looking at here is if we go back on a weekly chart, we can see this area right here around $64.
Mm-hmm.
Back in, if we're going back to late 2017, early 2018, and even, to mid 2018, there was a lot of, bouncing support and resistance off of this area. Again, we saw this Activision price come back in April 2018 and test this area. And then we saw earlier this year or last year.
Are you still there? I wonder if I've lost you. I think we might have a connection issue.
For on Activision is the support and resistance that 64 is showing, and we can see back earlier this year in February that Activision came back and got to a high of 64.53 and immediately got rejected down all the way down to $50. So I know this area, this tells me that 64 is a big area to break. For whatever reason, it's getting sold down, and that a break of this area will probably cause Activision to run a bit. So if we look now on a daily time frame, what I was watching for here is when you have a breakout like this that you think is going to cause the stock to run, a lot of the times it will come back down and test that area of support. And that's what I was looking for. You want to see that this previous resistance is now support. So when it came down last week, it kind of bounced off the 21 and closed over. This was my buy-in. So I think I bought in a little bit late because I wanted just to make sure that it was going to, act as support the 64 area. And I think I got in right at 64.40. So a little bit above my current horizontal. And basically I've just been riding that trade since then.
Okay, so you're still in the trade. You haven't exited yet. You're going to exit later.
Yeah, I think I put a take profit around 68, which unfortunately I think I missed by 33 cents this morning. It made a high of 67. But I'll wait. I'm almost up $3 a share, $2, and what is that? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
83 cents a share in 3 days. So I'm happy with this trade, and pretty much the way I'll trade it is I'll probably remove all my profits, or I'll probably remove everything I put in initially and hold the last few shares that are profit into earnings. Because I do like this stock. I do think that fundamentally it has a lot of good features, but I just don't want to hold anything more than my profits into earnings.
Sure. No, look, from what we can see here, you very similar trading style, obviously, due to where we learned support and resistance and using the EMAs. I was just looking at a Bitcoin chart yesterday on the last recording, And it was as simple as that, just trading off support and resistance and areas of interest over the past 3 months being tapped again, and taking a trade off that. And what other things are you watching at the moment? Are you watching the spies?
I am. So I can kind of show you like my watch list at the moment.
Okay.
So I'm always watching SPY. So SPY right now, this is kind of my first time looking at it since the market's opened. It's looking pretty strong. Right now I'm in a very kind of interesting trade. I basically shorted the top, which has turned into one of my best trades of this year.
Yeah.
Around $94, and I've rolled that down all the way, and I'm still yeah. So what I was looking for here is, it tested the 1-day 200, but also this was very close to the 618 Fibonacci retracement from the top all the way back.
Okay, yeah, the retracement from the all-time high to the
exactly.
bottom. Yeah, sure.
So I can draw that out. Let's see.
Great trade. Have you closed? Did you close that trade?
So on Friday, I probably closed about 50% of it. But what we can see here is this area that we got to. If you can see that, it's
we can.
Pretty much the high of it was the 618.
Yeah.
And the way that I'm trading this right now, exactly. And the way that I'm trading this right now is yesterday, to kind of give myself insurance. Since I got this great short opportunity, I got in at 294, basically at the top. I didn't want to let go of it yesterday, but so what I did was I bought calls. I bought shorter expiration calls.
Okay.
And so this way, if it bounces today, that's kind of my insurance protecting my puts.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, I'll probably lose some to theta, just to the theta burn. But I don't think we're going to break out to all-time highs. I don't think we're going to go back to, 340 immediately. I think we probably get a retest maybe of this 290 area. But I'd really be surprised if we go past that. And then at that point, I'll probably let go of the calls and maybe put some of the profits from the calls back into some more puts.
And how are you feeling just generally about the market? I mean, obviously we're talking from a trader's perspective now but now from sort of just a opinion perspective, how do you feel about this market right now? Do you think that the market's just going to keep going up, or do you think that we've got a bit more?
It's tough to say. I think that the market is extremely bullish right now, considering
the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, and I think it's like a really strange thing. And personally, I just don't understand what's going on. I'll be honest, but I don't think you have to understand. I think you just need to, be open to the opportunities and just trade, the opportunities that come.
Sure.
But in March, we saw a huge crash because obviously the markets were unsure, and they were scared of the worst. They were scared of high unemployment numbers, bad economic numbers. And the last week in April, we got those numbers. We basically, the jobless claims, the unemployment has been higher than expecting every single week for the last 6 weeks. The retail spending numbers were I think 7 times worse than they were even in the 2008 recession. Companies are going bankrupt daily. Yeah. And so last week of April, we got the data we were fearing in March, but yet the markets are still kind of steady in the 280s. So it is a little bit confusing. We're seeing what we were fearing, and yet the markets are reacting kind of bullish to it.
It's kind of like the opposite of buy the rumor, sell the news, eh?
Exactly. It's like they sold the news in March, and now that we have proof proving that what we were fearing, it's like, okay, let's buy it up.
It's now the reality. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, and then you've got to also think that maybe markets are sort of forward thinking. They're pricing in the future, So maybe if we look at the stock market, and just a maybe, things will be going back to normal and resuming a lot quicker than we all anticipate, and the market's sort of pricing that in. It could be the case, Maybe it's not all doom and gloom, like we all, a lot of people are anticipating.
I think the markets, they take some time to kind of decide, especially after this big sell down. I think the markets could spend some time in the 270s, 280s, kind of, waiting to see what happens next. But I have a feeling closer to the second quarter data coming out probably, late June, early July. If that really sets the reality that things are as bad as we thought and maybe even worse, that could probably be around the time that we see the sell down.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the markets kind of stay in this area for, a few weeks, maybe even a couple months.
Maybe
just to kind of
even,
wait and see what
maybe even
happens.
as low as 260, 262 around there. I'm looking at your chart, sort of etch out a range between about 262 and the upper 280s.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
frustrate people.
But talking about my strategy, what this is kind of where I start. So I spoke about how I look through lots of stocks. So I'll kind of just scroll through them. Like PayPal looks great. Like Activision I'm watching, Twitter I'm watching. And what I'm looking at is just very quickly, it'll be like, is the stock close to a horizontal support and resistance? That's the first thing I want to look for. Because that's a good place to set my risk management, because if I can enter the trade as close as possible to a support, then I can mitigate my losses, which is basically what I'm always trying to do. So when I say I'll look through hundreds of stocks, it's literally as quick as this. Like I'll just kind of scroll through and here I'm seeing J&J bouncing off support this morning. So this right away catches my attention. We see it opens up right at the support I have marked off. It looks at 148.87. It even tested below it shortly and get bought up right off it. So right away, this catches my attention. I've been following J&J for weeks now because I like it. We can see nicely here it came down, tested the 1-day 21, and now bouncing off it. To me right now, this seems like probably a great buy.
So what would be your next step? Okay, so you've identified a potential setup. What would be your next sort of step that you would take?
Honestly, probably just enter the trade. I probably missed it this morning because I wasn't watching. But if I was watching first thing this morning and it was testing this, 148.87 area, probably enter as soon as I see it bounce as around 149 and put the stop loss a little bit below it, maybe 148.50. So this way, I have maybe 50 cents of risk per share, but potentially back up to 155.
1 second. Sorry. Carry on. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Do you ever use the oscillators though? I mean, like we're sitting there at support and you've seen there's been so far a healthy reaction off that support, horizontal support there. Do you ever perhaps, throw on the oscillators and see what, whether they've got any confluence between that and support?
Absolutely. So this is step number one. When I say I'm literally looking at 100 stocks to start my day. So what I'll do is I'll look at this and this will then go into my list of potentially good trades.
Okay.
And so once I've put this in my list of potentially good trades, then I'll go back in and each one I'll do that full deep dive. So I'll look on every time frame, probably from the 15-minute all the way up to the weekly, and see is there confluence between the lower time frames and the higher time frames? What am I seeing? And so on this one, what I'm seeing right now is stochastics are down. RSI looks like it's trying to pop back up. So on a daily time frame, it's not looking great. But this wouldn't be like my favorite trade because we have this looking good, but these kind of iffy. And most of the time I want my indicators to line up. And that goes back to what I was saying before. There's no rush. I would rather wait and pick from the stocks that have confluence between all the indicators because it just makes me more confident. So here what I would look at is the lower time frames. And on the lower time frames, things are looking a lot better, especially on the 1 hour. And even the 4 hour. The 4 hour specifically, we're seeing a cross up on the stochastics and RSI at the same time, and we're kind of breaking right above the 4 hour 21.
Yeah.
So now I see this. Like say I was to enter this trade right now, and I like what J&J is looking like. Now this gives me another trade. The 4 hour 21's coming in at 149.65. I could enter this trade and put a stop loss right below the 4 hour 21. Since I missed my earlier entry at the horizontal support.
Sure, still not a bad entry though. And what would your target be there? At least to take some profit off the table.
Probably I'm seeing a gap from last week, from April 28th. So probably to see if this area over here gets filled around 153, 154. That would be an immediate target. And we could even see since I've started looking at this in the last 5 minutes, it's already up 30 cents. So you could have a good trade in 5 minutes, and you could just be happy you made 30, 40 cents on a share, on, a few hundred shares, and take it off.
Mhm.
Sometimes I will do that, especially on a stock like this with stochastics and RSI crossing down on the one day. If this bounced, a dollar or two in one day, I might just take it off because we're seeing mixed messages on the higher time frames, which I'll always get the most weight to. Like, I'm always watching the higher time frames with, and giving them more weight. But at the same time, on the weekly, things are looking good. So, it would kind of, I'll have to see where things ended up, like the end of day, to determine, if I would take it off and just make it a quick scalp, or give it some time to run until this 153, 154 area.
So, okay. So if you had to just sort of digest or summarize like your take profit area, or, where you close a trade, or at least take some off the table, do you find that it's a mixture of hitting areas of resistance, or in this case, a gap fill, or do you do it? Some traders will say, okay, if I make 5% or 3%, or they set it at a fixed amount, that they take X amount off. Do you find that and also the question is, I know it won't be the same for every trade, because it depends whether you've got a confluence between your indicators and your support and resistance and whatever your strategy is. But do you find that you sometimes leave a little bit on, just to write?
Yes.
What I mean?
If I like the stock fundamentally, maybe I'll keep the profit shares, and just leave that on. So say I make a trade and I end up making, maybe 5 or 10 shares as profit, I'll just leave those on.
Okay.
When I take it. But in terms of taking profit at a certain percent, never. Like, I never say, okay, I'm going to take profit at 2%, but on the risk management, every time, I want to keep it low. Like, I want to pick a stop loss that's close, like how I was saying, the 4-hour 21 looks good because it basically gives me a risk of right now like 34 cents a share, which is a risk I'm willing to take. But I wouldn't put it down at like 146, because then I'm almost risking $4 a share, which is way more than I'd want to. And
what sort of percentage do you have that down to, a percentage on the risk management on the stop side?
Probably like,
what is your average? I mean, I know you don't have fixed.
Under 1%. I would like to, under 1%. Yeah.
That's extremely tight. That's extremely tight.
Yeah. Because the way I look at it is, so let's use J&J as an example. Say I did enter this trade this morning, and I think right when I started looking at it, was like 149.70. So at that point, I would have felt comfortable with this like 148. That probably would have put me at, I don't know, 0.5% of risk, like the 148, or let's just call it 149. And if that broke and I was still bullish overall on the stock, I'd probably, sell, take my loss there, and then put more buy orders on the 1-day 21. So this way I don't get, lose money all the way from 149 down to, 147, where the 1-day 21 is, but I could re-enter the trade a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And that's usually how I play a stock like that.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. Well, it gives us a good idea of how you manage your risk, and how, what strategies you use. You're mainly using support and resistance with a combination of EMAs and two oscillators that you have on your screen there, the Stokes and the RSI.
Yeah. I'll show you another one real quick that I like, that I think is just really nice to look at. Boeing, since it sold off from $400.
Yeah.
This is just like a beauty in terms of technical analysis. Personally, what I'm always looking at first is the 1-day 21. How is the stock reacting off of the 1-day 21, the 4-hour 21, the 1-hour 21? And we can see an extremely bearish or bullish stock. What you want to see is on a retest. If it's a bullish stock, you want to see it hit the 1-day 21 and for it to bounce. And a bearish stock, you want to see it hit the 1-day 21 and for it to sell off.
Yeah.
And Boeing, which I've been trading a lot for the last few weeks, basically, every single hit of this 1-day 21 has gotten sold off. And it's, when people who don't, think that there's anything to technical analysis, just look at this chart. It's given you,
it's art.
7 good trades, 8 good trades in the last like month. Just shorting the 1-day 21 every single time has worked out basically within the next day.
Yeah. And the thing is, what people need to realize is that 7 or 8 good trades. On the ninth one, it might not work anymore and it might flip. But
Exactly.
if you've taken 7 or even half those trades, 4 or 5 good trades out of that, that's fine. And if you manage your risk correctly, the winning trades have more than paid for that one losing trade. And then you flip, and then you start buying off the 21. So,
Exactly.
no, for those people who think it's voodoo or technical analysis is mumbo jumbo, I think, that exact chart you've got up there is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And there we go again.
So, I mean, on SPY, just to see where I'm leaving off, it's 288 right now. It's running. I would probably be looking at the 4-hour 200 at this point to see where it stops. I don't really see anything else that would cause me to think that it's going to stop before then. Because we're seeing on the 1 day, we're seeing the 377 and the 1 day 100 at 290, and the 4-hour, we're seeing the 200, which is all big EMAs. So I'd probably watch until that area.
Yeah, I think if you get a 4-hour closure above the 200 EMA there on SPYs, you're probably going to see a little bit more upside.
Yeah.
But for now it's below, eh?
Exactly. So that's what I'm watching at the moment. I think a little bit of patience here is good too. I don't really love this area, the like high 280s. So I would rather short in the mid, the mid to low 290s if it gets back up there. And until then, I'll probably just wait.
Yeah.
SPY specifically.
Yeah.
And into some other stocks.
Do you ever trade Forex? No Forex.
No, one of my trading buddies who I speak to often, he does it often. He's been trying to get me to do it, but I think it's just too much. It's just too much to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't gotten into it, but I would like to eventually.
And are you taking any trades on Bitcoin?
I haven't in the last few weeks, just because the volatility of the S&P has been so high. It's been taking up all my time. I do have spot Bitcoin. And since it's basically been recovering since the big sell-off, I've just been happy. I've been content that it's been going up. So it's taken some ease off. When it dipped down into like 3,000, I really was like, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I have to say I'm very relieved that it's.
But truthfully, did you sell at the bottom?
No, but I was like, because I think, if I remember correctly, like that night it dipped down to like 3,600, and I think it was back up to like 4,500 within an hour. And I think within
it was back over 5K within like 24 hours.
Yeah. So I think if it would have stayed in the 3,000s for like more than an hour, I probably would have, because I was like so depressed at that point. I was like, oh, I can't believe Bitcoin's like back down to these numbers. And then it's gotten bought up relatively quickly.
So that candle, I mean, it looks like capitulation. I mean, that was a very big wick below.
So unfortunately,
I went to bed, and it all happened early hours of the morning while I was sleeping. I don't know, maybe 3-4 in the morning where I am. So already Bitcoin had been rolling over, the days before, 1 or 2 days before. But it came from like 9K or something, or 10. That momentum just kept going and going and going. And I think when I went to bed, it was like at 7 something, 7,000, 7,500, let's just call it. I could not believe my eyes when I woke up. And I literally, as I woke up, it was under 4K. I was like, it was busy bouncing, it already hit the 3.6. It was like 3,900 and something. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what the heck happened? I've never seen such a drastic change in price from when I went to bed and when I wake up before.
Yeah, but it went from 8,000 down to 4,300 in 1 day, one candle.
Yeah, exactly.
And the next candle started off going down to 3,500.
Yeah.
So I think this quick buy up kind of saved me from selling the bottom.
So that candle there, sorry, the one that went down to 3,600, for me, the clock resets at 4 a.m. in the morning for me. So that's when GMT 0 is, or UCT. Yeah. So at 4 in the morning, that candle started and it went down to 3.6. So, and I was asleep. So when I woke up, it was already like reclaiming 4K again, but I still couldn't believe my eyes. I just couldn't believe it.
Same. So I got luck, but I am watching this area overall, and like this area to me, I'll show you real quick, is something I'm definitely watching. And in a very simple measure,
For the people watching out there, that oscillator that Eric had up there is called the Jewel, and Eric Crown has got it on Crown's Crypto Cave, if you're wondering.
so on this to make things really simple, this channel right here, break up, above this horizontal, we've seen price action fly up, and a
Yeah.
breakdown, we've seen it kind of sell down, as we can see.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of came all the way up to it and are basically stopped right under 8,900 on the weekly.
Yeah.
So I'm really watching this area to see, if we do break above 8,900, or kind of if this is one big bull trap.
Yeah, no, I agree. On my analysis I did yesterday, we've pretty much drawn up the same areas. I've put a box on your top line and I've put a box on your bottom line there. And you can see that bottom line too, that you can see it's acted as support and resistance quite well. So what I was anticipating, of course the market's not going to give it to me, is a sell-off that takes us right back down to that bottom line, which you'll find is around about 7,900, 7,800. I can't see on your chart exactly, yeah, somewhere around there. However, if we do break that upper resistance there, I think we're going to get a very quick run to 10.5, about 10,500. And yeah,
I'm leaning towards we're not going to break it.
Yeah,
but I'm not like ready to enter a trade in short yet. I kind of would give it some more time, because if a pop, could run to 10,000 while I'm sleeping.
absolutely.
So I don't want to get into that trade. But if we look at Ethereum, the reason I'm saying that is because Ethereum is seeing this 206 area, I would say, is just as important as the 8,900 area for Bitcoin.
Yep.
And this 206 area on Ethereum is something that I've had marked off like probably since the beginning. We can see like this, it's just had a lot of confluence and big breakups or breakdowns. Going back to November 2018.
Yeah, I mean, when it's interacted with that area, it spends a lot of time on the other side of it, once rejecting or being supported by it. So, yeah, I agree. And it's right there.
I'm walking this area. Like, and when I haven't changed this horizontal, I can say easily in a year. And when I see it getting bought or sold down, like, on the last 2 daily candles exactly off of it, it kind of makes me more confident in my feeling that, maybe this is the top of the run. And we're seeing the same thing in like the S&P, even though today it looks good, kind of toppy price action, Bitcoin toppy price action, and Ethereum toppy price action. So the fact that everything's kind of topping off at the same time, it gives me more confidence.
Bitcoin needs a little bit more time, as you said. I think it needs a bit more time up here. I hate to use that energy, but it's used a lot of energy getting up here, and I think that the market participants need to battle it out right now. Are we going to reaccumulate, or are we going to? Is this really distribution that's happening in terms of Bitcoin? Exactly. And I'm not leaning bearish on Bitcoin at all. I think that if it is distribution, I do think there's a very strong possibility we'll reaccumulate around that 79 area, and I would actually find that quite bullish. If that holds as support, I think it would be a great long-term entry. This is not financial advice, but
I agree.
I would be looking at it. I would be looking at that,
and I agree completely. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for to see how that plays out.
Exactly. I haven't quite got a game plan. If it does manage to break this 89 to 92 area, besides just perhaps hold spot and see what happens. I'm not really that keen, as you said, like going to bed. Bitcoin moves over $1,000 in the wrong way, and it can hurt. So I'm not confident to take a long. If we do break this resistance, I might just hold spot. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. Coming to the end here. We've already been about 55 minutes. I wanted to keep it under an hour. It's been awesome. It's been really great to share your charts and for me to introduce you to everybody. And if you want, I'll drop your Twitter link in the description. And if there's anything you want to say, go for it. Otherwise, it's been awesome. I hope we do it again.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I don't even have a Twitter, so I guess you could drop my Discord username if someone wants to message
You've
me.
got such a cool
Yeah,
profile picture as your Discord thing, so I just assumed you must have it.
yeah. No, I've never. I don't know. I've never social media. Coming from an IT background,
Yeah,
I don't know. Social media kind of freaks me out. I know that sounds bad, but I just what I've known to come from it. So I don't really have I don't even have a Facebook. I don't have a Twitter. But Discord I do have.
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for inviting me on the show. It was
No
really
way.
nice talking to you.